Okay, guys, welcome to another episode of D&amp, where we build really bad PCs.
Isn't that how they summon demons?
I think so. So this time, we're going to do a Oathbreaker Paladin / Cleric of Death.
Oh, wow. That's going to be interesting.
Oh, it's a tiefling.
I heard about this on
demon.
the news.
Oh, so it's going to be half demon.
Well, essentially, yeah.
Are they trying to kill somebody?
I think they're trying to...
But as an Oathbreaker Paladin, would they still have, like, a deity?
Yeah, just some evil one.
Oh,
Isn't this how people get possessed?
yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's just stop.
Why? What's wrong?
Yeah.
I really think somebody wanted to get
Possessed! Why are you suddenly possessed?
Why don't we just watch TV? Let's just watch TV.
Oh, shit.
And our Jesus said to his D20 disciples.
Never mind.
It's totally Moreland's episode.
it is my episode, Angie. She didn't know who to point to. She forgot.
No, halfway through that turned into jazz hands.
I know.
With intent.
I was like, where are you pointing
My eyes
at?
were like her D&D character just looking everywhere.
Hello, TheFreeRotation Nation. We are back once again for another episode. I've got my usual suspects with me today. Angie.
Hello.
Becky.
What's
She's
up?
Possessed.
I am not possessed yet.
Scoob.
He's
What's
possessed
up,
too.
everybody?
Who's our southern preacher.
And Jesus said, Moreland gave her the shaft. This is very Nixonish.
I'm like, are you
It's
Jesus
kinda-
or president that was impeached?
No, I was
He
Jesus.
is R.N. Nixon.
Or Nixon.
We're going to repeal those policies on a D20 roll.
Oh, jeez.
That one stays. We're going to increase the tariffs by that 20. Whatever I fucking decide, dude.
I want a D&D player to be president after this whole thing blows over.
You mean all of us?
I don't want to be president.
Oh, they said present. Like, you want them to be present after this episode is over.
No, I want to cease
Jesus.
existing right at the end of this.
I
Are
was
we
like-
actually going to get taken away by Satan?
I mean,
Little changeling children?
anything can happen if you believe. Hashtag.
I do know.
This episode, we are going to try, hopefully, to keep on topic
Nope.
about Satanic Panic.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm panicking as we speak.
back in the 80s.
Satanically, even.
Back in the 80s, when Angie was young and vibrant.
Yes.
Oh my God! What is wrong with you? I
That
think she's
was-
young and vibrant now.
No, I was little. I was a kid.
Yeah, she was...
Young and vibrant.
We were born
In 88.
80... Well, I was born in 87.
Okay.
87, 88.
Right. So we were at... Yeah.
We were at the end of it.
and I was already... I was in middle school in the 80s.
I
Yeah.
know, but I still think you're young and vibrant now.
She actually...
And elementary school.
Oh, okay.
She has an easier time-
Can you not kiss her ass long enough to make his point?
She has an easier time
I know.
actually remembering some of
True.
this stuff.
I mean, okay, I agree with
I
that.
do remember it.
We've learned this from articles we've read and
Yeah.
everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can make... That's... Yeah, I could see where that is, because we never lived through what Angie would have seen with...
Not to that level, but we still...
but we could... I mean, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it still goes on today because you still see
Well, you
still
still
see
have
a lot of
nerds.
Well,
different
let's talk about what happened in the 80s.
Okay, so back in the 80s, a guy named Anton LaVey started the...
That I got you. Wait a minute. Go ahead.
LaVey. I knew I was saying it wrong when I said it. I was like...
His name probably was Levy, but since he's a Satanist.
No, it's Anton LaVey.
He started the Church of Satan.
Even though it is not what you think. Satan is
Exactly.
in the title, but it is absolutely not what you think.
Exactly.
Well, I think it was more so the fact that it came out that they were Satanists, but they weren't Satanists in the sense that they worshiped
the
Satan.
devil.
They
That's-
were more, if anything, they were more agnostic than anything, and they were like, what,
Satan-
worldly pleasures.
Atheist.
Satanism is more self...
And it's a stricter code of conduct for Satanists than for Christians. by
Which
the
is
way.
really funny
Yeah.
when you actually do the breakdown of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean there's all kinds of things that, like
Now-
you said, they hold people to a higher standards. Their Bible, I say Bible with air quotes, has
they call it the
different
Bible.
laws, different rules. I only say with air quotes.
I mean, like, the worst thing in there is if somebody does you wrong, you get them back. And you get
Yeah.
them back 3 times worse.
It's a karmic thing.
yeah.
And, like, actually, the Church of Satan is so big on consent, you wouldn't believe it, and you wouldn't think so.
Right. It's actually, I think, more so when it came...
This is not a Church of Satan podcast.
No, it's not. And I think, but it's like, we're looking at it retroactively as people who now have the internet. Now we have ways to communicate with other people of different religions and races and all of that stuff.
And we have the internet where we can actually read the Satanic Bible.
Yeah, we're not just fed what the news says, that this is a Satan is being summoned through the Satanists.
Yeah, this is...
And which is crazy, because if you think about it, the Satanists themselves, it was just a bad timing, I think, for D&D and Satanists in general. It's like the Satanists never said anything about D&D in the first place.
Never.
It wasn't mentioned that we are using D&D as a way to reach kids so they join our cult or anything like that. Matter of fact, if you think about it, like, most people now wouldn't even attribute it to Satanism at all.
Well, as you put the foundation for the bridge to segue it in, what I assumed it was, and just the quick layman's, because a group of D&D players, especially back then, you got together in your mom's basement, you loaded up on Doritos and Mountain Dew, and you played for several hours in a dark room, essentially, or a candlelit room, very low lit room.
Right.
The difference between that and it's like a satanic ritual was probably like, instead of Mountain Dew, you have like Fresca. Like, I don't know.
No, you still have Mountain Dew, but there's also
a goblet, a naked chick,
a pentagram. Probably.
Well, if one of you was a
probably what someone says is goat's blood or lamb's blood,
and it's fucking thick Kool-Aid.
It's thick Kool-Aid or chicken
Caro syrup.
or Caro syrup or chicken.
I want to
chicken's blood, something like that.
I think the Church of Satanism was really where it started for D&D as part of the 80s, but I think in my opinion, the real witch hunt was like a decade earlier, or a couple of. I would say
it started with the music.
It
started with music,
and I think it actually was perpetuated.
Well, D&D started in '74. It started in the '70s.
Well,
was it '74? For some reason, I was thinking '75.
Look at your shirt, '74.
I realize that now it's on my shirt.
Well,
I feel like a shithead now.
No,
Thanks.
okay.
Don't touch me. Don't fucking.
What I was going to point out is that I think it really was perpetuated with the Charles Manson murders. Because of the idea of Helter Skelter, that the devil still exists. Because if you think about it, prior to that...
But what was Helter Skelter? A musician.
Right. Well, no, my point being is that before that time with Charles Manson, it was very much more of a sheltered, bubbly kind of life. Like, everything was more innocent.
It was the hippie age. It was the hippie age.
So when this Helter Skelter were out to kill because we want to start a race war, all of this stuff started, it sort of put in perspective the fact that evil existed and that he was... sort of perpetuated to be like a demonic figure to begin with.
Well, that and people don't... Anything that's different, people don't understand.
I think he met Anton LaVey down near Miami. He met him in Florida. I can't remember what year, what time, but he was rejected by them.
Right.
They rejected Helter Skelter.
Charles Manson. He tried to write songs for the Beach Boys, and we all know the Beach Boys.
Right.
Beach, baby, beach.
Yeah.
He wrote songs for them, and the content, they were like, nope.
Well, my point being that I think this idea of the Satanic Panic had already been perpetuated for a while, and that anything that was outside of the norm was going to be considered satanic because we were already in that age of now being more realistic than living in like a bubbly sort of happy world all the time.
Right, because of Charles Manson's female followers, I still think to this day, like 2 of them, there's something like seriously wrong with them. They are crazy nutballs. But he wasn't involved in the Satanic Church. He was involved with the cult, the Luciferian cult.
Right.
And they are 2 very different things. You have the Church of Satan and the cult, the Luciferians.
But the thing is, everybody lumped it together in the 80s.
Yeah, because if they don't understand, they...
Satan?
I fucking hate that character for this reason.
It's like the guy said in that YouTube video you linked me to.
Phil the Conquistador.
Yes. He said in it, if something's out of the norm and somebody needs a scapegoat, you blame the weird people.
You always blame the weird people.
You always blame the weird people.
You don't believe me? Let me put a context in and flash forward it. Remember Columbine?
Yeah.
Who'd they round up first? All the metal kids.
Yeah.
Who'd they blame first? Marilyn Manson.
Right.
All that. Just for those of you who are not old enough to...
Well, not even that. Back, if we're going back to the 80s, like I said, it was kind of like a perfect storm of things that happened that led to it. It was the Church of Satan, and then it was the Egbert disappearance, and it was that kid that ended up disappearing. His name was...
James Egbert.
James Egbert, and he was a college student who went missing one day, and there was this whole thing where he just went missing for a month, and they couldn't figure out where he went. They got an investigator involved. Do you remember the guy's name?
I do not remember the investigator's name. It was along the lines of he had possibly committed suicide in some tunnels. Mm-hmm. And then eventually did commit suicide?
He did. And the thing was that this investigator, they hired an investigator. This guy was like a huge con man because his thought process was he figured out that he was possibly hiding in these vents in the school because kids would go hang out there, and then started attributing it to him playing D&D or wanting to role play and being these other people, and that this was the reason why the kid ended up disappearing and then committing suicide was because he was influenced by Dungeons and Dragons, which had nothing to do with it. Actually, if you look at the history of Egbert in his life, he really didn't have anything to do with it. There was serious mental issues that he had, and that he was possibly gay.
But back then, first, like you said, the first scapegoat you find, that's what it is.
This private investigator, I wish I could remember his name, basically came out and said we found Dungeons and Dragons books in his room. Clearly, he's either being possessed or he's doing these to try and summon something, or this is what's causing his mental illness.
Like, this was so bad to the point that my mother wouldn't let me watch the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. It was just a fantastic... like fluffy cartoon.
Oh, it's super
like
fluffy.
Bugs Bunny was way more violent than Dungeons and Dragons.
But that was one thing, and then it was Rona Jaffe did Mazes and Monsters. That was the joke I was trying to make with you earlier, Scoob, was the Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks was in this movie called Mazes and Monsters. You want to explain it?
Okay, there's originally a book, and there was another one called Hobgoblins. Basically, they both follow a kid that playing D&D. Basically, they follow kids that are playing D&D. Really lose touch with reality. End up basically going crazy. The scene that the guy showed in the video is Tom Hanks. He's on a pier, and he's wanting to use his... basically, he's like a sorcerer. He wants to use his sorcerer points to fly. And his friend, that's the dungeon master or the maze master, as they call it.
This is the maze controller. That's how stupid it sounded.
Maze controller.
Because they couldn't call it DM or Dungeon Master because copyright.
Right.
Yeah. He's like, well, I'm the maze controller, and I say you don't have enough points to do this, so you can't do this. He's like, what do you mean, maze controller? And he just breaks down because he's like, oh crap, what the hell am I doing?
Right. It's like the betrayal from Mazes and Monsters was actually based on what happened with Egbert. Was the idea that Dungeons and Dragons was influencing these kids to kill themselves, to enter this realm of fantasy in which they could never come back from, and their idea was that they were either gonna, which is funny because really, if you think about it, where the issue was kind of separate to what the Satanic Panic was, but the fact that these kids were trying to summon something to become something else.
Well, there was also this idea at the time that if you meditated, you basically were open to demons and Satan. Mm-hmm. So when you entered a fantasy world and stepped out of yourself into another body, something would come inhabit your body. That was the thought process.
Yeah. That's
why entering the fantasy world and role-playing, you were basically inviting something into your body.
But somehow actors were immune to the shit.
Well,
like
I don't. Good point.
No, that's the thing I just thought about. I don't remember anyone saying trying to stop movies from happening. Mm-hmm. But if you're an actor, you're playing a role. You're becoming something else. But actors are okay. But the weird where's my soapbox? Someone hand me the soapbox.
Here you go, Scoob. It's a little damaged.
I reinforced it since last time.
I don't understand how... Okay, let me take it back. The thing that pisses me off about it is people don't understand things. So obviously...
It's bad.
It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point. And this goes... It's not as much Satanic Panic, but it goes kind of with it. I remember one time I was in high school. It was lunchtime. I was either playing Magic with somebody or someone playing Yu-Gi-Oh with somebody, and this teacher ran up, grabbed our cards, and took them from us. Okay, cool, but for what reason? Well, you're gambling. How are we gambling? Well, you have cards. All card games mean gambling. No. Well, we're going to have to take these. But, that's what I'm saying. You don't understand it. So instead of taking time to understand, you just go, well, nope, fuck it. It's illegal.
Well, that's the problem is you're not going to take the time to understand it. Because if you think about it, the kids who are playing Dungeons and Dragons, kind of fit the stereotype of the nerds, because it's effectively the original Dungeons and Dragons was a math game. It was to hit armor class 0, and what was it, like crazy ass math?
It was.
You don't have time to summon a demon because you're too busy trying to do
dividing by 0 at that point.
It's a big word problem.
But I think the thing that came out from it was the reason why it was the issue was because it had demons in it. The original D&D, for a while there, they did take out the whole demonic, fiendish, abyssal.
Yeah, tieflings weren't a thing. Abyssal wasn't a thing.
It wasn't until recently that they brought it back because of the fact that people thought you were trying to summon demons. So on top of it, with Tom Hanks,
people are stupid.
Well, Tom Hanks doing this stupid movie, and this kid going and disappearing, and suddenly it has something to do with D&D. All these people are coming out and saying clearly it's a thing that's a ritualized summoning for the demonic powers to take your children away.
Well, it didn't help that people didn't have access to all the information.
Right.
Like we do nowadays. And then you have people that are coming out making up completely false statements.
Right.
False news stories.
My son typically
literally
played
hashtag
D&D.
fake news. I hate to say it, but
it's relevant.
Because there was a lady.
My son Timothy played one game of Dungeons and Dragons,
and he's possessed. He started back talking me
and skipping church and not holding the snakes the way I told him to.
Meanwhile, it's because these people who are different and nerd are empowered now. You've given them something that they can relate to. And can come together as a group. That is more than
beating his phone, because apparently that breaks your broken phone work, is beating the shit out of it.
It did. It worked.
Michelle Smith. Mm-hmm.
That's the most generic name. I can't be mad at that because it's the most generic shit ever.
Michelle Smith.
That's like being mad at turkey sandwich.
She went and had she wrote her husband wrote a book about her accounts of being of going through satanic rituals,
which nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons again.
Yeah, but it was.
Don't understand it. Lump sum. Do it.
It wasn't even. It wasn't even things that she. It was just stuff that she said happened to her, but she didn't remember. And then it got brought up some
but
other
it's a
way.
Completely factual account.
Well, it was the fact that it was several people doing this. It was that investigator for Egbert that did this. It was the Maze and Monsters book, and then on top of it, you had these people who were coming on the news. Angie said that even on the news.
No, fucking Geraldo, Phil Donahue,
I was about to say,
Raphael.
You got to remember, this is also when the haunting in Connecticut happened. You had a lady go on Oprah, got Oprah kicked off the air for a few episodes because the lady was talking about the Church of Satan and what you do and the way Christianity lies to you. And so the Satanic Panic was perpetuated by all these things coming out. But and specifically the hauntings, and the Warrens were very active in the 80s. Right.
Well, on top of it, you had people coming in and saying, my child played Dungeons and Dragons, and suddenly...
And listened to Judas Priest and then killed himself.
Yeah. And he said there was something dark that summoned him. And then some guy came out and said, listen, TSR was contacting me to make sure that my spells, because he was a Wiccan, he was like, that the spells were similar enough to a spell in the Wiccan society because they're putting it in the spell, like the player's handbook. And I'm thinking to myself...
Meanwhile, you don't say or do anything.
No.
Right.
You're like, I'm going to cast this magic missile spell.
With imaginary
items?
Yeah.
I'm going to cast... Oh, it's got a verbal cue. What do you do? Like...
Yeah.
I'm going to cast magic missile and point at Doritos and get a handful.
Yeah.
Well, Geek and Sundry had a really interesting article as well, and it was the original creators and talking about Gary Gygax and how they handled the Satanic Panic at the time. And they said they went on TV and people would ask him, like, how do you feel about knowing that you have spells and spell books and all this stuff for kids? And they said, let me show you exactly how we cast spells in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm casting Fireball. Mm-hmm. And the people would be like, okay.
And then, did you hit armor class 0? Let's do 2 pages of math work.
Yeah. and they're like, that's it. That's all you say. It's not like you read something from the book, say some magical Latin language, and suddenly you summon a fireball. It's, I'm going to cast Fireball. That's it. Mm-hmm. So it's...
Wait, actually, I'm going to cast Fireball.
I missed.
I'd made it.
Angie missed a lot today, so she's like, I missed.
You shut your mouth. Missed a lot of dex rolls and athletics.
Oh, Jesus.
Took a lot of damage.
And I just...
Sorry.
And I know the Satanic Panic, but there's so many instances of just nerd oppression and being fucked with that come on, that I group in with this because of just the stigma, A, of being a nerd, and B, of how people don't understand, so they just fucking...
Well, and this is really when people were separating from the herd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And can't do that, Lord knows.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You know, they were very different. They liked different music. Alice in Chains, Judas Priest, AC/DC, Against Christ, Devil's Children.
Kiss, Night in Satan's Service.
Yeah, like all these things.
And Gene Simmons is a Hasidic Jew. He's the most... No, he actually asked on interview, he's like, I was the most Jewish Jew you've ever met, and I'm against the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And then they found out he was a Jew, and then that little right wing was like, aha! And he's like, no, idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at my tongue as I pleasure 16 women at once. Bah. It is Gene Simmons. To be fair, he probably did say that.
He probably did.
He probably did it too, yeah.
But you know what? There's always your exceptions who are already in a bad headspace. They have mental problems, and these things do set them off.
Yeah,
but those people are not. They're not. That's their exceptions.
And it's not that correlation equals causation, because at one point in the 80s,
I actually have that picture at my work.
Oh yeah.
And I also want to throw something out there after you make this point.
Well, I was gonna say back then it was
Andrew's.
you use that as an excuse for any sort of mental illness when you should have been treating mental illness.
Exactly.
So like at one point there was a lady.
Was the music.
Yeah.
People didn't want to own up to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
no one wants to own up to their failures as a parent.
Well, it's not even failures
or
as
society.
A parent. It's not even failures as a parent. It's just literally.
I did not know.
This is a mental illness.
I apologize for my anger this podcast, but this really makes me angry.
Oh, no,
I'm sorry, but it's just I don't.
Well, part of
it's
it was
understandable.
Yeah, there was also a lady named Patricia Pulling, and
fuck you.
She basically
Puling.
Well, Pulling. It was Pulling. What happened is
Puling.
Was it Puling?
Her name's pronounced
Wasn't she the one? And
I like pulling better. See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why you fuck? Okay.
She basically founded something called BAD, and it was called Bothered About Dungeons and Dragons. Because what happened?
Are you serious? I've
Yeah.
never heard of this.
Well, here's what happened.
Fuck you double because I've never heard of it.
Well, here's what happened is
it's
in
like Moms Against Drunk
1982.
Driving.
Yeah. What happened in 1982 is that her son had committed suicide, and that she had blamed it on D&D because her son had come home from playing D&D with a friend, been convinced that he was possessed by a curse, and killed himself.
Yes.
So she basically at that point attributed all of it to D&D, even filing a lawsuit against TSR, saying that D&D was the reason why her son committed suicide. And it basically became a crusade for her. She said she was an occultist, studied satanic rituals, and found that D&D was the reason why her son committed suicide.
You know, if you believe something, you can find proof of it anywhere you look.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Salem witch trials.
Right.
Exactly.
So if she believed that, no matter what her research she did, she would find that.
Yeah.
And he probably did commit suicide because he felt he was cursed and would die. That's a symptom of his problem.
Exactly.
Well, here's what she said as in her book. She called it some of her materials were called Teen Devil Worship, a Deadly Fad, and What is the Ritual Abuse That Portrayed D&D as a fantasy role-playing game which uses demonology, witchcraft, voodoo, murder, rape, blasphemy, suicide, assassination, insanity, sex perversion, homosexuality, prostitution, satanic-type rituals, gambling, barbarism, cannibalism, sadism, desecration, demon summonings, necromantics, divination, and other teachings.
I mean, that's actually all true.
It's all
depending on your play group.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
But I haven't run, but it was never like, we're going to go rape people.
It's not real.
Yeah, but on top of it, it's not like a lot of our group is like, you know what, let's go rape these people.
But there are some groups who you do have a player who will do that.
Yeah.
We may not allow it in our groups, but there are groups that do that.
You have
but that's your fantasy character in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
and if you want them to go to fantasy jail, you can go fantasy rape somebody.
Now here's...
Or have another fantasy party come kill you because you raped somebody.
Exactly.
Here's what I wanted to say. Were you done with your point?
Yes, I'm done.
I want everyone to think about something. Us in this room and everyone here.
My brain might catch on fire.
And the demon in the corner. Hey, Bob.
Sitting with our monster manual.
Gabobo.
So think about this. How many times have we all had a shitty day at work or a shitty week, and you have your D&D session to look forward to, or if you're not playing Critical Role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how many kids were told, "You're worshiping Satan. I'm gonna let you play. I'm gonna make you go to church 17 more times," and then blew their fucking brains out or OD'd on something because
you start
of
believing something's wrong with you. Because
Right.
you
Exactly.
enjoy these things.
Now,
Because you're going out to have fun.
Now, I'm not saying that those kids were driven to it just by that. There was deep-seated mental illness, but I'm saying like D&D can make you feel better. I've had many a shitty day. When I was unemployed and we had a session, we had the weekly sessions.
Yeah.
That made me so happy because at least it's something I was doing.
There's now
once I killed the archer.
Right. Well, now there's studies out that say that children who have anxiety or depression or anything that makes it difficult for them to socialize, D&D is a great outlet for kids like that, because what it does is allow them to socialize in a setting that's safe for them. They're not out in the real world having to try.
They're not themselves.
They're not themselves, and it allows them to socialize with people who are like them, and gives them a chance to understand how to be empathetic without having to put themselves out there in real life.
I think there's a charity, because I remember watching it in one of the like Christmas episodes from the first season.
826 LA.
No.
Okay.
It was the one it was someone had sent them a letter because they sent them a gift that she started in her college a tabletop therapy thing for kids. Like, so it was that you would teach them to play D&D so they could, like, that was their therapy for being through from broken homes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, that's a game of D&D.
Yeah.
And to the four of us in this room and some of the listeners out here, think about that. That's a game of D&D, and you can literally change someone's life for the better just by teaching them how a D20 works.
Yeah.
But back in the 80s with the Satanic Panic, it was different. Gonna go to hell.
Well, you know what? Coming from a personal experience, when I first started college, that's when computers really actually became a thing. Really dating myself here, but it's true. They went from being the ones where you had to load in a disk just to do certain programs. And, they actually had 32 megabytes of memory, and, you might get a 64.
Angie remembers.
Say we got that in phones nowadays.
Angie remembers when floppy disks were literally every program.
Yes.
But the MMORPGs were games you would telnet into. They were all text-based games. And,
Zork.
yeah, Tempest. I played a game called Tempest Fugit. And when I started playing it, because I've always been different from everyone. I've always been this person. But everyone I've gone to school with has not been. Like, rarely do you meet people like us. That's why we've stayed such good friends, because we get each other.
Yeah.
So when I found this game in
Becky's
college...
out there,
well, no.
Becky's
Well, that
different.
and at this point, like, the criminality of the... No, I'm kidding.
And, being a foster kid and growing up and not really being close to anyone, I didn't really... Like Becky said, you learn empathy through these games. I actually made friends. That's who Marco is. I met him first year of college when I started playing Tempest. I met Marco. We've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
So it really did, help pull me out of my shells and get to talk to people. I went to there were meetups, and I know games still have meetups. And then World of Warcraft came out, and played World of Warcraft,
which just made it the digitized version.
Well,
with a more set parameter.
Eventually, in the Satanic Panic, it shifted from D&D to
Video games.
Video games.
And even if you look at it, it's so funny to look, like the Geek and Sundry article I was talking about. There used to be a comic called Dark Dungeon, and it was done by this comic writer who was a super Christian, and
it was like a Bible tract.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his name is Jack Chick.
Jack Chick, that's right. I can cut that.
His Chick tracts.
Yeah, Chick Tracks. And what it was a long ongoing story about...
I thought that was everything Adele wrote.
Oh, God.
That too.
Thank you.
It was an ongoing, what was it? An ongoing track in which this girl somehow ended up becoming a Satanist because she had played a high elf.
One girl...
But Becky, you are a high elf. What does that mean for you?
She's a Satanist.
She is.
And possessed by Gabooboo.
Gabooboo? Gabooboo.
I am the devil's honey mustard.
She is Gabooboo, man.
It was one girl... It was one girl ended up getting satanic powers because she was the dungeon master.
Right.
And
that's right. She was indoctrinating people into it, basically.
Yeah, she got the satanic powers, and then one of her players, her character died. I think her name was like Darkleaf or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
2 X's, it's edgy as fuck.
She ended up going and killing herself.
Because she couldn't live without her character.
And that reformed the dungeon master to turn to Jesus.
Yeah. So basically...
You know what? I remember these.
Yeah.
I actually remember these.
They made a movie of this specific...
It was supposed... And it was supposed to...
And they show it in youth groups.
Well,
I remember these.
This recent one they've done is a satire, but the guy, Chick or whatever, basically said that, blessed it, saying that this is exactly what happens when you play D&D. They were, standing in, a room, and you know how if you go to, hold up, wait for it. They go to, a gambling or something where they go to a party and they start doing a chant or something like, party, party. They're chanting, RPG, RPG. Yes. This whole school is, the underground thing is role-playing. Like, you don't...
They start ripping things off the walls and start decorating. Like, somebody throws up an axe and somebody throws up a banner and all kinds of
like,
other things.
it's the cool kids role play, and this is what they do. They summon Satan and shit. It was funny.
It was funny.
We need to watch this movie.
Is it supposed to be funny?
Yes.
The movie itself was meant to be a satire, but it's been twisted now.
No, I'm saying if you're familiar with the concept of the propaganda film Reefer Madness, how it was all anti-pot, and you watch that shit now, it makes you gay, it makes you this, it makes you... Is that what this is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Dark Dungeon was.
Get the box.
Here you go.
Look,
you're still standing on it.
You never got off it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean...
I just waited so other people talk. I have been bullied for a long part of my life. And then I found the 4 people in this room.
Most
3
of
people
us
in this room.
I still bully you. What you talking about?
Yeah, but it's friendly. You're not going to do the shit.
What is happening
My
with your...
earphones attacked me.
My point is, you're not going to do the long list of fucked up shit to me other people have done.
True, and I agree.
I mean, I might.
I'm going to pull a chair out from
fair,
under you.
fair. Well, you're not going to put gum in my hair.
Well, now that you've said it, maybe I will.
That's what happened to your beard, right?
No, you're not going to like hold me down. You're not going to hold me down in the bathroom, pee on me, and then tell everyone I pissed my pants. Are you?
No.
Okay, that happened, so that's a good day.
I would.
We are your friends.
Anyway.
I'm just marking my territory.
That makes me so... Jesus
this
Christ.
is our friend.
That makes... Fair? I'll get the swimsuit. Anyway, fuck, you made me lose it.
All the snorkels.
I like how they
He was
took all the
getting super
anger.
serious. We're like, we're going to pee on you now, Scoop.
Yeah, you really did.
Scoop, that's what she said.
You R. Kelly'd me out of anger. What the fuck?
I know.
I just don't understand why people just can't let shit be man. Like, I don't get it.
It's I think,
well, because some people truly believed this. My mother truly believed this was evil.
and it's what
she stopped using Procter & Gamble products because it came out that the barcode had 666 in it and was satanic.
I have seen people,
I mean, that was part of the Satanic Panic.
I have seen
Procter
people,
& Gamble.
Yep. I have seen people get stuff in my many years of retail. If it comes up 666, they either take an item off or get something over. They need that 1 penny. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, but you bought duct tape,
a shovel,
trash bags.
Are you talking about
and
that
some
one
Lye soap?
time I went to Walmart at 11 p.m. and bought
maybe?
No, I was gonna go with you bought a cucumber petroleum jelly and this month's
50 Shades of Grey
Ebony magazine, and yet I'm the one with some fucked up shit.
Well, I think the
I roll
problem
dice
is,
with my friends.
and it's something that's still perpetuated to this day, is the information you take in. So, and even worse in the 80s, because you were only allowed what was in your community, like what you saw in the news. It wasn't like you could go on the internet if somebody said, hey, X is satanic and they can summon like rituals through it or whatever.
Yeah, there was no Nerdist. There was no Huffington Post.
And you have to think about it now. We're really lucky to live in it's what we call the nerd renaissance at this point, where the kids who were picked on, the kids who did play D&D, are grown up and are creating.
Oh, you know, Elon Musk got fucked with, and who's a sorcerer at least once in his life.
Yeah,
for sure.
And we're in that renaissance of nerdism where D&D is now something you see regularly. Kids play it. Families play it together. You have parents running games for kids.
Has anyone else had anyone ask them to explain to them what D&D is?
Yeah, at work.
Yeah.
The ladies are very curious because they remember this 80s Satanic Panic.
I've had a couple different people at my work go, hey, can you explain? Because like I'd bring my Dungeons and Dragons book and I'd roll through, looking to make a character and everything. And they'd be like, hey, can you talk to me about this for a minute?
Yeah, like we got Pathfinder minis in at work, and we got 4 boxes, and I was going to buy all 4 boxes. I was like, okay, these need to be here when I get off work. And people are like, why? Because I play the game they go to. They go to a game, and then I had to go through the whole...
Well, it's crazy to think that people thought if you just cracked open a dungeon manual or any sort of book involving Dungeons and Dragons.
I think in the first page it actually says this is used for entertainment purposes.
Well, yeah, and on top of that, if you opened it to the page of a wizard, it doesn't explain to you how you can say these magic words, go into the moonlight, and call Cthulhu up or whatever. Mm-hmm. It says, here are the 14 numbers you have to add, and here are the variants you can do for these numbers. I have never thought to myself, I'm going to be a wizard if I play a wizard in D&D, because the furthest thing in my mind is that, because all I'm thinking is, I got to roll to hit. I've got to roll to hit. I got to roll to hit. Which dice is going to roll good? I got to roll to hit.
Right.
Like, my thought process is the dice and what my numbers are going to add up to, not, oh, man, I'm so close to being a real wizard in real life.
I think the 80s, too, is when the children of the hippies came of age to do these things, and we were less Christian.
Yeah.
Less religious. I mean, my mother was super religious. I had to go to church every Wednesday and Sunday. But, it's just less.
Yeah.
You also got to add in, there was probably just a giant cacophony of...
It sounds like just a perfect storm of events.
Well, you got the kids that are growing up now, like you said, from the hippie parents that probably smoked while they were pregnant, and it's been linked to cause mental illnesses and everything in kids when they grow up.
It's just just another excuse to tell kids that your mental illness, it's taboo, and there's something inherently wrong with you instead of trying to treat it.
Right.
And that's exactly it. There's always a link to higher links of depression, higher links of anxiety, higher links of oppositional defiant. And I'm only saying this because I actually am in this realm with kids all the time, and it's linked to it. And it's now a thing where even now it's so taboo, but we're trying to treat it. So it's considered more. Instead, though, now we're like, we need to prescribe drugs to everybody.
Yeah. Now it's getting a little out of hand.
Right. Everybody has ADHD.
Like you go. That's what parents do when they don't want to. They don't want to deal with.
They don't
want
to parent their kids.
They don't want to deal with their kids. Oh, you've got ADHD. Let's go get you on this. Let's go get you on Ritalin,
Right.
Adderall, Ritalin,
Right.
and slow you down so you're practically depressed and don't want to do anything. Right. But that means you're quiet and I don't have to deal with you.
Which I guess is. Can you attribute that to being better or worse than the fact that back in the 80s, the way to explain this was everybody was summoning Satan?
You were just possessed.
Yeah.
Oh, you were depressed and committed suicide listening to... I hate to pick on Judas Priest, but he was the one most picked on.
No, they because...
Ozzy biting the head off the bat didn't help.
No.
Well,
he did not.
Well, the amount of cocaine or whatever it was he did that made him do it. Well, no,
Or Satan.
Yeah, do you
It's
remember?
clearly Satan.
Do you remember the VH1 show I Love the 80s? For those of you who remember VH1 when music videos still happened.
Yeah.
Well, they had a show called I Love the 80s, and they did I Love the 80s like 17 times because like I love the 80s again.
They went through the decade.
Yeah.
Each episode was like a year of
but they did it again and again and again, like multiple. Ozzy got sued because this kid committed suicide.
Right.
Because he drank like he overdosed with pills and booze. Well, Ozzy had the song Suicide Solution. He wrote that for Bon Scott at the time, who died choking on his own vomit. Mm-hmm. As he's the guy before Brian Johnson, lead singer of AC/DC, Bon Scott, I think. Yeah. Well, they took him to court, and they played the song. Well, then they read the lyrics, and the explanation they had was, suicide solution, it's a science thing. What is a solution?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because that alcohol is a solution in the chemical sense.
Alcoholism is basically killing yourself.
No, alcohol, any alcohol alcohol as a substance is a solution.
Yeah.
Because it's something dissolved in something else. I don't remember exactly the scientific term for solution applies to alcohol.
Yes, I understand.
Well, no one thought about that because all they saw was the head biting Ozzy fucking.
Yeah.
And it's and like I said, they poke fun at it and shit like Little Nicky, like Judas Priest backwards is like rah 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 nothing. But like
and
Kansas,
that was another
was it Kansas, Boston, or Chicago?
Yeah, it was one of those.
One of the city or state name bands.
And it was almost. I think it also didn't help that Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, Pink Floyd's just drugs.
It was that. Well, that it was called a Satan as
well.
Even
Wizard of Oz was suddenly somehow satanic when you played it with Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Like,
everything could be attributed back to this. And we're going to get more into this in my episode because we're going to talk about like the violence in video games and the correlation. First off, there's no correlation. So
I'm trying to find something to calm me down because I'm extremely angry this episode. I don't know why.
I mean,
I would like to play devil's advocate a little bit.
Okay.
Pun intended?
Yes.
Okay.
Retroactively looking back at it now.
Right, because the 80s, like I said, was a really turbulent decade. You had the Cold War in full swing. Mm-hmm. People were always scared it was the end of the world.
Yep.
Cocaine was
They were going to get nuked. You had the influx of drugs suddenly.
Cocaine was as common as a powdered donut.
You had the war on drugs and everything.
Yeah. Everything was a war on something.
I would like to point out how the war on drugs gone really well, hadn't it?
Yeah. Sorry,
go ahead.
Imagine if rap music came out in the 80s, like
Oh,
this.
jeez.
Oh, it
Two
would
Live
be
Crew
considered
was-
like satanic.
It would be.
No, it would
But
be like
in the 80s, you had the most prolific serial killers, and people were
Yeah.
trying to explain what happened. You had Jeffrey Dahmer, the Night Stalker.
Richard Ramirez.
Yeah.
Zodiac Killer. Was the Zodiac
No,
Killer?
he was.
No.
No, that's
You
right,
had
because
Carol
whenever-
and Tom Bundy.
Yeah,
Like,
the
it
Zodiac Killer
just-
was kind of right after Charles Manson, so that kept perpetuating the
You
whole
had,
idea.
You had John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, you had the highway killer. People were just killing random people on the highway.
So what does it? Satan.
Yeah, something was wrong with these people.
It
Like,
was
who
a-
could eat someone?
It was a witch
Right.
hunt again. It became what effectively the
The
Salem witch.
Sunset strip killers.
Yeah.
I always want to call them sunset strippers, but the sunset. And this was terrifying. I remember being a kid and being horrified because one of those killers was here in Atlanta. One of the highway killers.
Oh, well, yeah. Didn't they have like a whole string of kids that were being killed in Atlanta and they never found
Yes,
out who they
The
were?
black children
Yeah.
were being killed and taken, which, I mean, I wasn't a black kid, but I was a
But
kid,
you
and
don't
you
know.
don't understand it
you're,
at the
you're
time.
still a kid.
Yeah.
And then you had the guy who was hiding and shooting people on the interstate
Yeah.
and just killing people.
It was suddenly like.
Satan?
It,
Oh, okay.
It was suddenly like we had. It was like the influx of evil, almost. And it
So
wasn't.
they're trying to explain
Yeah.
what's causing all this violence. It must be the music. And you know what? That game summons demons. So they're summoning demons who are influencing the music, and these people are becoming
influencing
serial
the
killers.
kids and
Because
influencing
they'd
the
sit there
yeah.
and listen to Judas Priest while they're casting magic missile.
Yeah, but I was gonna say it's like I told Angie. I said talking about this topic, it's like history repeats itself. The only difference from 300 years ago is that we're not all Puritans, and the only information we have is from the Bible. But it's just a repeat of exactly what happened during the Salem witch trials.
History, no matter what timeline you follow, is always going to be cyclical.
Yeah. And I think that we're going to end up getting to that point again. But I think at this point, we're so lucky to have the advent of the internet, the ability to talk to somebody across the world who is different than us and believes different. And even the majority of countries now are atheist to agnostic. I think we're not going to see the same megalomaniac idea of Christianity hunting it down, but it's going to always be localized here because we live in America.
Oh, I mean, we live in the. Let's be honest. We
live
in the South.
Yeah.
I mentioned.
We're in the deep American South.
Oh, I don't know. I think there's a huge resurgence of like the Christian Crusades coming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
well, you know
Like,
what that is.
they're crazy.
Like I mentioned to my boss because when I came back from lunch from watching video and reading articles and stuff. He looks at me. He's like, you look like you've processed a lot on lunch. And I go, I have food, researching Satanic Panic, this, that, and the other. And he goes, what's the Satanic Panic? I go, oh yeah, that's right. He grew up in Germany. He has no idea.
Yeah.
He still plays he plays Dungeons and Dragons too. I mean, not as often like as we do or anything, but he plays, and he played over in Germany, but he never.
Yeah, they didn't experience because there was a
Exactly.
more open. It was more open in the ideas of what.
There's less religious nuts.
Yeah,
like
that's
he-
exactly the
Mostly
issue.
after about
didn't-
mostly after about 1945.
Yeah.
He didn't come over. He didn't come over to the U.S. until 2003, I think he said.
Yeah.
So
He didn't have to
was-
experience that.
Yeah,
Look.
he was well into being a teenager and everything.
I made a joke earlier that you got about Saturday Night Live, the church lady. That's
Could it
literally
be?
what.
Wait, I love Dana Carvey. That's one of the.
That's
I
my
don't like
favorite.
Wayne's World, but I love that character.
Yeah.
It's like cheated on your wife.
Was that Satan?
Could it be Satan?
And it's like I feel like
But that was like the real
No,
idea.
that's literally what happened.
and it sucks.
And think just even the water boy, it's the devil.
Yeah.
Anything she didn't like was the devil.
Yeah.
And there's
No,
and
if you
can't-
want an accurate representation of what it's like to be in the South and be a nerd and play
That's
Dungeons
her.
and Dragons,
Watch-
it's the
watch-
mom from Waterboy. Which, by the way, great actress, great portrayal. Hate your character in the Waterboy. What actress played
Follow
her?
Kathy Bates.
Was it Kathy Bates?
Yeah.
Kathy Bates, love you. Follow us. But
Absolutely love Kathy Bates.
I think what pisses me off is it's become the way to explain it. This always pisses me off. Oh shit. The way it all
But we were just killing shit.
knocked over your dice tray. Yeah. Okay.
Did you roll nat 20 with it?
The funniest part is we are sitting in a room devoted to Dungeons and Dragons. Have you noticed, like any sort of role playing game? Like we have our sign sitting up, we have
All the books, the
we have the
figurines.
figures. It's funny.
I'm wearing a fucking D&D
we
shirt.
are clearly biased at this point. I'm
Well,
wearing
I mean-
I'm wearing a Spirited Away shirt.
I'm wearing a zombie.
I'm wearing
let's see.
Helen, Georgia.
Zombies versus vampires.
The mountains are calling.
Ninjas versus pirates.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool shirt. I like that.
I
love it.
But my point being is, if we can't explain it, we automatically attribute it to the devil.
Right.
Or the Sasquatch.
Angie only does that.
Why don't we just, as a nerd nation, as a free rotation nation, let's do a kickback. If we can't explain why shit's the way it is, fucking normies. Like
That's how it is like now.
Like we're fucking 4chan,
But you know
fucking
what,
normies.
And you know what pisses me off is you would think as we've gotten older, as the 80s ended, as information has become more readily available, we would lose the idea of the Satanic Panic. But then fucking Harry Potter hits, and it's like, clearly we're worshiping the devil.
They always find a new devil and a new demon.
It always is it.
Harry Potter,
they banned it from
Twilight.
schools. Oh my! I think Twilight should have been banned.
No, I'm not getting into that part. I'm saying like that's the one they picked.
I mean, now you got 50 Shades of Grey, but that does no accurate representation of
BDSM.
Of that lifestyle.
Yeah,
no.
And it's sad.
It's for bored housewives who wanted to get off with and that's what they did.
And that's fine. You do you.
Because didn't it start as a Harry Potter fan fiction, or was it
and they really did do that.
No, it started as a Twilight fan fiction.
It was one of those.
But like Harry Potter, you heard a lot about witchcraft. Oh, it's witchcraft. You let your kids read it, you're sacrificing them to the devil.
Yeah, they're clearly becoming witches.
And I would like to point how actual witches go. These are the inaccuracies with this entire.
Right. Like there was
it's just high fantasy.
Like there was a thing on Facebook about they Christian groups will attack anything because they were attacking Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
They were like, well, if your kid's asking for a Weedle,
it's a weed needle.
A weed needle.
Yeah.
A needle.
Have you not
with
heard this?
Weed,
I have heard this.
A needle with weed in it. It's just like that doesn't even.
That's
make
not even
sense.
how weed works, people.
Son, are those marijuana pills? What?
Son, it's like the whole like Jesse Spano thing from.
I'm so excited.
He's doing the caffeine.
No, we got one of those Funko Pops in at work. I was gonna buy it for you, but the chase is her in that outfit, and I was like, I didn't
really like retroactively. Me and Moreland at least, and probably Scoob. We didn't experience the Satanic Panic to D&D, even though as growing up, it was still kind of weird to fucking play D&D.
Oh no,
it was weird. My first experience with it was we know the old Hero Shop, like the really old one.
Yeah.
Right?
The one next to Kroger I used to work at?
Yes.
Okay.
10 minutes, me and one of my best friends back in the back room with one other guy. We played for like 10 minutes, and he's like, well, I gotta go, rocks fall and everyone dies. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was weird.
But
I was really excited to play and everything.
We'll get into first D&D.
Well, I was going to say that. I was like, that was the first experience of having to deal with the idea of the satanic thing being in pop culture was Harry Potter for us.
Yes.
I feel like that was a Harry Potter because I was like 10 or 11 when Harry Potter came out.
Right. So you're right in the core age group.
We were right in the core age group to read the books, and then all these articles purporting that your child is going to become a harbinger of the devil if you read the books. And it's like sitting there and you're like, I've read these books, but nothing has happened.
And they're trying to get it banned.
Right.
And some places
places it did. Like Mississippi, I think, banned the book up until recently.
Yeah, because Mississippi's fucking progressive as fuck.
Right? Well, it was just crazy because my mother...
I do like how I just pissed off Mississippi.
Well, my mother has always been a conservative religious woman. And she would hear these things, and she kind of look at me like, it's not real, right? You're not going to... Even recently, she's like, superheroes aren't real. I said, Mom, if you think that we're all crazy enough to think that these things are real, then you have a bigger problem than I do.
Okay, but...
I absolutely believe there's superhumans, but I'm crazy.
That's different. That's different. That's not superheroes. That's superhumans.
But not summoning demons through D&D.
No.
Okay, hold on. Let me just pose an alternate theory, and I've proposed this before. There's a lot of days I wish D&D were real.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that movie that was on Netflix.
No. I don't fucking...
Bright.
Yeah,
no.
I
love that movie.
I still haven't seen that. I need to.
It's really good.
Do you realize how often in a week...
You'd cast Fireball.
Do I look like a caster?
Well,
I would love to go...
Rage.
I would love to
he
just
told us earlier he didn't like berserking.
I didn't like berserking. I didn't like it. I would go.
Well, no, anyway, I know where you're going with
BS.
this. I know where you're going with this, talking about like how much it would be cool, but you would never like. The joke is you never want to be a parent in Dungeons and Dragons because you're gonna die.
Oh no, absolutely no. You're all correct.
Well, and if it were a D&D world, other people could do the same thing. I can't even imagine how many people I piss off in a day.
Yeah,
like you accidentally get in a lane somebody else wanted in.
Oh, you wouldn't. Cars wouldn't exist. You wouldn't need cars.
There's one of these big dually trucks, big ass Dodge truck nuts and everything.
Did it really have truck nuts?
Yes.
Oh my god. Where the
South.
Pulls. you know that. You know we got the 3 lanes, and the third lane goes on the interstate.
Yeah.
Right under the bridge, right before it goes onto the interstate. Right and whips right in front of me. I'm like, you.
I
asshole.
hope
Fireball.
you pop one of those.
Oh yeah, no. Fireball.
And you know his tires are super expensive because they're big, nubby, and bigger than his fucking IQ number.
I'd just fireball in the cab and just.
But that's why it would be best for us not to exist in that kind of world.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Bitch, do you realize if I was a real bard, the shit I would... You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
I like how Angie looked at me and I was like...
The fact is, like improv, acting, anything that creates stuff, like the D&D at its base is a communal storytelling process with your friends. You sit there and tell a story, and you roll some dice, and the dice basically dictate what happens in the story, whether you miss, whether you hit, whether you die.
It's like a choose your own adventure, but instead of choosing books, pages in a book, you roll dice.
Or talking it out.
Yeah, you roll dice, and they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna go this way." Damn
and
it!
It's the funnest experience that I've ever had.
And it's like I've said before,
Other than sex.
Just going, which you can involve dice with too.
True.
Technically, yes.
Going into...
I might have her roll for spank
Well,
sex.
now.
My bag of dice is just here.
Well, no, what you do...
How many orgasms are you gonna have?
Well, there's that. If you build
We
it
lost
like...
count last time.
If you build it like an encounter and you have multiple sex toys and you have a certain DC amount as to which ones you're going to use. Anyway.
But
see, I wasn't going there. They brought me there. They did
I get it.
I lost count of that and spanks.
Okay,
Jesus
back on
Christ,
topic.
all
Let's
the
go.
Yeah, he was the one who
My
said, let's
arm
not
hurts.
lose topic.
My arm hurts. That's
Oh,
how.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
But
Anyways.
But it's like I said before, for the longest time, I didn't tell anybody I even went to the card shop.
Yeah.
I was the first one to go, fucking nerd. I'm sitting there going, I'm lying to myself.
Well, even Magic, people thought you were like trying to summon something because you were playing with decks.
Magic got hit.
Magic got hit with it, and
Yu-Gi-Oh. Every
But-
card game.
Well,
You got-
Yu-Gi-Oh deserves it.
but you know what?
Yu-Gi-Oh's stupid.
The longevity of it is that these fucking weird nerd kids are now the creators,
No.
they have
Well,
money to buy.
and
it.
now we have the money, and now we have the power.
Well, you remember Ryan, right? The
Yes.
guy who did the altars?
Yeah.
Did you ever read one of his sermons that he wrote?
No.
Do you know what his favorite thing to do was?
What?
Drop
Work-
magic references.
Yeah. He would
Magic
literally
card
drop
references.
in magic card references every sermon he did.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
I wish I still had one. But no, and you would think he would just work in cleric, and no, he would work in when the ray of revelation hits upon you, because that's a fucking card in Judgment.
Yeah.
Day of Judgment's simple, and Damnation's simple. But no, his favorite thing to do was like work in magic references and just see how many he could work in and get away with.
That's actually brilliant.
But see, and he was a hardcore, actual conservative Christian.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a preacher man.
But yeah, but I don't know his
I
specific.
don't know.
I didn't know his specific alignment.
He is a Christian. I just don't know
Which denomination?
Yeah, just
It
don't
was
know
Church
which
of God.
Was it? Okay, so yeah.
So it's really interesting for Church of God.
Oh yeah, really
Appreciated
interesting.
Yeah.
being there playing Magic with us,
Yes.
but even he wouldn't play D&D. It crossed some lines for him.
Yeah, but okay, but
He
see,
didn't berate us
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
it's Satan. It just for him.
I think he told me one time that he tried, and like the group he played with was one of those groups where nothing's off limits, and that was kind of what,
Yeah.
what soured
But
him.
at the base, and depending on what you watch, a lot of times, and that's what people didn't understand, is you were playing a hero fighting against these monsters. It wasn't that you were becoming the monster. It was
you were summoning them.
Unless that's
Yeah.
how bad you roll, and I'm involved.
Well, if we're gonna talk
you're
about
involved, you're
if
always
the
the villain.
stereotypical D&D group,
Yeah.
it's chaotic good to good characters out to save the world. And that to me is not a bad thing. It's the same as any other.
It's a superhero team-up movie, but you
Exactly.
make the hero.
You know
Exactly.
what? Anything is as good or as evil as the person who controls it.
Exactly.
I was about to say, in some way, every D&D campaigns are Lord of the Rings.
Base at the base.
Just with a much
at the base, it's
with
Lord
a
of the
much
Rings.
more expanded class and
Right.
race option.
Yes.
But I just, I hope that now, and it's retroactive because we are Angie lived it, but we're looking at it through the lens, like just looking at the things people would say.
Hers is reminiscing an actual
Yeah.
lifetime. Ours
But
is
if you-
anecdotal.
But if you
evidence,
ever
kinda.
get a chance, guys, go look at the YouTube clips of what these people were saying what D&D was doing
No,
to their
if
kids.
you
This
type
is
in
like David Brokaw. This is nightly news.
yeah, Dateline and shit.
You are going to
60
crack
minutes.
up if you've ever played
It's-
D&D and listened
it's
to it.
funny.
No, if you've ever if you've ever,
But
like I
at the
said,
time, it was horrifying.
Oh yeah.
and I'm not saying this because I'm pro weed, not pro weed, whatever it is. Reefer Madness. Watch that propaganda film. You will laugh your fucking tits off. Watch the, because I typed in Satanic Panic because it kept popping up in my news feed just because I watch a lot of D&D content. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And I looked at one. I was like, oh, that's fucking great. That's fucking great.
Yeah, definitely go check out the YouTube clips. Phil the Conquistador is the one we got a lot of information from. It was a good rundown of what happened. And BBC News has done a lot of articles. The New York Times has done articles. You can basically Google the Satanic Panic in D&D, and what we've talked about exists. You could probably get a more in-depth look at it.
Oh yeah, because he did a pretty much an overview of all the Satanic Panic. He hit the Church of Satan, D&D, and just literally music, everything.
Yeah.
So he did pretty much an overview, and he said that in some of his other videos he was actually going to focus on D&D, focus on the music, focus on the actual Church of Satan, and everything.
Yeah.
Speaking of music, and just because Danzig and Skip the Chicken Wings is a heavy metal character, R.I.P. Vinnie Paul, the drummer of Pantera. I fucking hate this week. Mm-hmm. I lost him and I lost Vader, one of my favorite professional wrestlers as a kid.
Dang.
Fuck this week. I made myself sad. I was angry and I made myself sad. Why did you let me do this?
You should come play D&D with us next week if you're off.
Hey.
Becky.
Yeah.
Where can they find us?
Oh, we didn't do it because I fucking broke you.
Where can they find us?
You can find us on Facebook at The Free.
And
Don't
Spotify.
fucking say it, Angie.
Instagram.
Don't find us on Facebook at The Free Rotation.
What we want? Why would you tell them don't find us on things? You just said don't find us on things.
I said don't do it, and I said
no. You said don't and then said find us. You said don't find us.
Anyways.
I don't want to spend 10 minutes on the outro, please.
You always do, though, because we fuck with you every time.
Yeah.
You can find us on Facebook
You
at
just want
The
to make sure
Free.
you don't forget Spotify.
You want to do it, Angie?
No, ma'am.
Or We Be Geeks.
No.
Place.
Does anybody else want to try?
I'm good.
Nope.
Okay.
Wait. I'll try.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Hey, Scoob. Where can they find
Hey,
us?
Scoob.
You can find us on Twitch at Becky.
Becky.
You didn't even do it in the right order.
Exactly.
I don't know the order, damn it.
Facebook's first.
You can find us on Facebook at
The
Free
Free Rotation
Rotation.
Podcast.
Oh. You can find us on Instagram,
at.
The Free Rotation Podcast.
Okay, you got that one right.
You
I
can
just
find
asked
us.
you.
You can find us on Spotify at.
The Free
Free
Rotation,
Podcast.
You can find us on any podcasting app possible out there. So you just look up The Free Rotation Podcast. You can find us on YouTube at The Free Rotation. We're also on Twitter at The Free Rotation. We are Twitch affiliates at The Free Rotation. You can see us every few days a week playing video games, doing something stupid, Scoop building a D&D
You
character.
can post my face.
You did say doing something stupid.
Well, yeah, and on top of that, we have some really cool emotes if you want to subscribe and help a sister out.
Also, when we reach 25 subscribers, we are going to do a giveaway for a Razer mouse and keyboard.
Yay!
Yeah.
So go out there and subscribe.
Give it away. Give it away. Give it away.
Amazon Prime.
And if you have an Amazon Prime account, feel free to check and see if you have a Twitch Prime account. If you have a Twitch username, you can link that to your Amazon Prime account, and it gives you one free subscription a month to any channel. Please use it on ours.
The Scoop has a question.
What?
We have an Instagram, right?
Yes.
No.
Remember how we did the sandwich episode?
Yeah.
If we make the sandwich, are we supposed
We're
to post it on
Instagram.
Instagram?
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
filter the sandwich on there.
No.
And we are talking about doing a ancillary podcast episode. It won't be uploaded on Liberated
I don't
Syndication,
like
which is our
celery.
host. Whatever. Extra episodes where we talk about games, news, stuff like that. It'll be a Twitch exclusive. So if you aren't following us on Twitch, please go follow us there.
Yes.
But only on Twitch.
And, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say. Hold
Spotify.
on. Maybe.
Spotify.
No, I forgot.
We're affiliate on We Be Geeks.
I forgot.
Oh yeah, and we are also part of the Weeby Geeks podcasting network. See what you do when you make.
Nobody interrupted you in your spiel this time.
You can check us out at WeebyGeeksPC.com. You can also check out some really cool podcasts over there if you like to listen to other geeky podcasts. I got wrestling, nerds who get laid sometimes, the Poop Podcast. So there's a lot of cool.
Wait, whoa.
It's called Poop Culture
Did you mention
Podcast.
YouTube?
Yeah, I mentioned YouTube.
Don't we have a website?
And TheFreeRotation.com if you want to check out some of our past episodes. We also post some news up there about being Twitch affiliates, and we also are going to have some YouTube videos go up once I can convince Scoob to get out of his house for more than 3 hours.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye, guys.
And remember, everyone, you don't have to do alcohol. You don't have to do crack. Sometimes you just let the dice go clickety-clack.
God.
I need you guys to take a moment to look at how cute Blue's nose is. Half is black and half is pink. Look at it. Isn't it cute?
So she's a member of the Heart Foundation?
Look at her.
Just
Isn't
a
it
little bit.
adorable?
She's always adorable.
Yes.
Oh.